After hearing all that, Yucun let out a sigh and said, "Well, that's just their tough luck, not some random coincidence." He chalked it up to fate, adding, "It's like a crazy mix of love and destiny, with these two poor souls caught up in it. Let's not dwell on them, let's figure out how to deal with this lawsuit." Yucun's stance was clear now, and he was all about handling the legal mess. So, he turns to the assistant and asks, "Hey, what's up with me being all wishy-washy today? I used to be so decisive." The assistant just smiles and goes, "Boss, I heard that your gig as governor came through the Jia and Wang family's connections. And since Shui Pan is tied to the Jia family, why not play along? Do them a solid, wrap up this case, and it'll be smooth sailing to meet the Jia and Wang families in the future." Now, ain't that assistant a smart cookie? Not only is he sharp, but he's also got the inside scoop on who helped Yucun land the governor gig. He knows full well that it was the Jia and Wang families who pulled the strings for Yucun's official position. And now that the Shui family is connected to both of these crews, it's the perfect chance for Yucun to do a solid and set himself up to meet the Jia and Wang families down the line. Jia Yucun said, "What you said is not without reason. However, when it comes to matters of life and death, it is a grace from the emperor to reinstate and employ me. It is like being reborn and given a chance to repay this kindness with all my heart and effort. How can I disregard the law for this? I cannot tolerate such behavior." Such eloquent words. Righteous and grandiose. I receive this official position again as a favor from the court, right? I should wholeheartedly repay this kindness. How could I bend the law for personal gain? He said these words to his assistant, who believed them to be true, and then lectured him, sneering, "Master, what you said is indeed reasonable, but it's just not practical in today's world. Haven't you heard the saying of the ancients, a great man acts according to the times? And also, one who seeks good fortune and avoids calamity is a true gentleman. According to your words, not only can you not serve the court, but you also cannot ensure your own safety. You should think twice about what's prudent." Yucun lowered his head for a while and then said, "What do you think?" He was actually seeking advice on how to resolve this case. The assistant had long since come up with an idea. He wanted to make a name for himself. An old friend had come, right? It was his superior, and he saw this as the perfect opportunity to gain recognition for himself. He proposed the following plan of action. The next day, when Yucun presided over the court, he simply put on a show, moved some documents around, issued warrants, but of course, the accused could not be brought in. The plaintiffs came to sue, hoping for a little more compensation for the burial expenses, as the person had already passed away. Yucun gave them a little more for the burial expenses, and then claimed that Shui Pan had been haunted to death by the vengeful spirit of Feng Yuan. He said that Feng Yuan's spirit had caught up with him, causing him to die of a sudden illness. With this explanation, everything was settled, and he gave them a little more for the burial expenses. Wasn't everything resolved this way? After the assistant proposed this plan, what did Yucun say? He hesitated and said, "It doesn't seem right. Let me think it over." That night, there was no discussion. The next day in court, Yucun's actions were exactly as the assistant had suggested. The Feng family received a lot of money for the burial expenses, and there was nothing more to be said. Once everything was sorted, Yucun quickly dashed off 2 letters, one to the Jia family and the other to the Wang family, just saying that his nephew's business was all taken care of and they didn't need to worry. It was a pretty straightforward message, but why the rush? To take all the credit. And what about the assistant? Well, it was actually his idea to begin with. Yucun was worried that the assistant might spill the beans about his past struggles with poverty, so he wasn't too happy about it. There were a couple of things on his mind. First, the whole plan was the assistant's idea, right? If Yucun went along with it, it would definitely look like he was bending the rules for his own benefit. Second, their whole relationship was built on their shared tough times. If the assistant started blabbing about how Yucun used to be dirt poor, that would be seriously awkward. And what would come of that awkwardness? It would definitely spell trouble. Yucun wasn't in a rush, was he? He was just waiting for the assistant to slip up, wasn't he? Once Yucun had the excuse, he would get rid of the assistant, maybe send him off to the army. And that's how things ended up for the assistant, just a small player in the big picture. So, what did we learn from this? A whole bunch. Let me break it down for you. First off, being too clever can backfire. That assistant was sharp as a tack and in the loop, but he made a dumb move. Smart folks often do dumb things, which means they ain't got the smarts. Where'd he mess up? He thought Jia Yucun needed his help to settle the lawsuit, and he got bamboozled by Jia Yucun's speech of righteousness. Jia Yucun, a respectable scholar who spoke all high and mighty, totally overwhelmed the assistant. This whole thing opened my eyes to what intellectuals are really about. I've been at Fudan University for decades, but the assistant didn't have a clue. When intellectuals get down to business, they can be seriously tough, using their fancy ways to take their rivals down, no joke. I've seen it with my own two eyes the whole time, but it's a shame the assistant was in the dark about it. His stupidity, and you, all knowledgeable and sharp, huh? Why do you need to know everything? There are things you're better off not knowing, trust me. It's just how it goes in Chinese society, you know? Like, at work, you walk by two colleagues chatting in the hallway, but as soon as you get close, they clam up. Then you start wondering what they're keeping from you, right? So, you go poking around, worried you might miss out on something important. Silly, right? Sometimes it's better not to know. If I know something, it's because I have to, you get me? Other than that, I shouldn't be in the loop. And then you've got the big shots who think, I'm the boss here, I need to know everything. But really, it's not necessary. But there's always someone eager to spill the beans, right? So, every little thing that happens between Tom, Dick, and Harry, they come running to you, and you're all chuffed about it. But why do you need to know it all? Your business will run just fine without all the gossip, right? You should just focus on your own thing. Who cares if they talk smack behind your back? If it bothers you and makes you act differently, it's just gonna cause more trouble. It's normal for people to talk, so don't be overly concerned, 'cause maybe your head ain't quite right yet. So, this really got me thinking. I mean, check out this quote, knowing the ways of the world is real wisdom, and being good with people is true skill. Jia Yucun totally bought into that, right? Then he goes and puts on this whole intellectual act, acting all high and mighty, and the poor assistant falls for it. And then, just like that, a nobody, someone insignificant, just gets taken down without a peep. It's from stories like this that we can see all the social and human drama in traditional Chinese society. I mean, how are you supposed to act as an official, right? It's a real tough nut to crack, isn't it?